Hey guys, welcome to Indie Game Hustle. In this video, we're going to take a look at UModelerX primitive shapes. It's super important to understand when you're modeling, you want to know what shapes you have at your disposal. So let's take a look at what UModeler currently has available. So the first thing I'm going to do is click on my toolbar here and click and create a UModeler object. Once you click that, you're going to have a little dot that kind of follows your mouse around. And this dot is kind of right now snapping to the grid. And so you can set it up that way. You don't have to have it set up that way, but it is an option. But for now, on the right side of your screen, before you draw anything, you're going to have this editable mesh. Okay. And on the right side, you have this area called primitive shapes. So what we're going to do is create a box shape and show you how that works. So I'm going to select box. And so what that happens, once you select box, you have the tool properties show up underneath this area. And here you can manipulate and set up all these different changes. So you can add segments, you can change the width, the height, and the depth. And then you can also just hit click one build. But what we're going to do is go ahead and draw this out. So what I'm going to do is click and draw just like that. And then I'm just going to let this go up just like that. And this is pretty much your basic shape that you'll be using probably the most in this software. And underneath, as you can see, I can still manipulate the shapes with the depth and the height. And on top of that, I can add segments to it if I need to. All right, awesome. And if you need to, all of these objects are going to give you the option to go into X-ray mode so you can see through. Awesome. And that's pretty simple. But let's take a look at the next shape and let's check on the cylinder. All right, so when we create the cylinder, I'm going to go ahead and click and drag. And the first thing that's going to happen is we're going to get a radius. And then when I let go of the mouse, I'm going to go ahead and be able to edit the height. All right, great. And then I'm going to go ahead and click to confirm that. And so there's my shape, but we're not done. If I want some more segments, I can add or reduce the segments based on whatever I'm modeling. And you can also do the height as well for the segments. And the next one is going to be the sphere. So what I'll do is go ahead and click and drag. So the clicking and the dragging in this case is going to first be our radius. And then when I let go of the mouse, that one's already committed. And so with this, I can change the segments of this object. I can make it more round. I can add more rings. We can really dial it up if we need to. The next one is going to be the IcoSphere. This is very similar, but I don't believe this sphere existed in the previous version of UModeler. So this is new for UModeler X, I believe. So here they have it called the order. So what I'm going to do is kind of increase or decrease here, and you can still increase the radius as needed. All right. And so the next one is going to be the Torus. So with the Torus, I'm going to go ahead and click. And when I click and drag, the first thing we have is the radius. And then when I let go of the mouse, now we're manipulating the radius too. So the first radius and then the second radius. And then once I click to confirm it, that's the shape that we're left with. Now, if we want to continue to edit this shape, we can, just like so. And we can also add segments to it, just like that. Awesome. And let's take a look at our pipe tool, which will be very similar to the Torus tool. So I'm going to click and drag. The first thing we're going to be working with is going to be the radius. And then when I let go, it's going to be only the radius too. So the first click and drag is both, but the second one is only radius 2. And as I click and drag again, this is going to give us the height because this is more of a pipe shape, right? And then if I let go, we have our commit. And so with this, we're going to have our different sides. So if we want to add more sides, or if we want to add more height segments. Cool. So our next primitive shape is going to be the capsule. So with the capsule, we're going to click and drag, and it's going to look like you're creating a sphere. And you're only manipulating the radius right now, but once you let go, now we're going up, and that's going to give us that height that the capsule usually looks like. And so I'll click to confirm that shape, and now we can go in and add segments if needed, add additional sides if needed, and add more rings on the edges of the capsule. All right, and the next thing, we're going to take a look at the cone. So I'm going to click and drag, and that's going to give us that radius. And then when I let go of the mouse, that's going to give us that height for that point. And of course, we can increase or decrease the sides as needed. And then the next thing, let's take a look at the room. So the room is very similar to the box. The difference is that it's going to create a inner mesh. So first thing first, you click and drag, and then you, just like the box, you're going to click, and then you confirm that. The only difference is inside of here, there's also a mesh. So I'm going to select my faces tool to give you an understanding of this. So as you can see, I have this side selected, but on the inside, that side is not selected because this is a separate mesh on the inside. Now, let me go ahead and create another box, a room tool. And the difference here, I'm going to manipulate the thickness. So now that we have this box out, before we do anything else, before we go into object mode, I can change the width, I can change the height still, whatever I need to do. What I want to do is change the thickness. So I can change the thickness. And so I'll put it up something high. Let's go inside of this mesh. And that's really small. So if we go here, as you can see that that's really the inner area of this. And it's relative to the outside width, height, and depth. Okay. So if I go ahead and click and delete this here, you can see how I have this wall inside of here. And so if I delete this, now as you can see, it's created this inner area. Okay, so that could be super useful. And there are, of course, different ways to go about this. You could create a box and flip the normals and other things like that, but you have a tool that kind of does it for you. So that's kind of nice. So the next tool we're going to take a look at is the stairs. And right now it looks like it's a pretty basic stairs. So what we're going to do is just go ahead and click. Almost looks like a box tool, but when I click and let go, that's going to get us some stairs. Now, currently the only options we have is to turn 90 degrees, like that. It's not too bad. And then what you can do is you can change the height. You can change the steps as well. Great. And then once you're out of there, you can rotate it to whatever direction you need. And what we can do is say we want to go on to 90 degrees. We can do 90 degrees, that sort of thing. And the last primitive tool we're going to take a look at is going to be the spiral stairs. And so what I'm going to do is click and drag. So when you click and drag, the first thing you're manipulating is the radius and the angle. So the direction, like the angle of the stairs, and the radius, so how big this is going to be. And then once you let go, now you're focusing on kind of the depth or how long the stairs are or how wide they are. And then click. Now you're dealing with how tall the stairs are. which is nice. All right, and so before I go into object mode, you can still mess with the height, the step height. You can still change the curvature. So if you don't want it to curve too much, or maybe you want it to curve a whole lot, you can kind of do whatever you need to do. You can kind of bring it all the way back. We can bring that height down. It's kind of up to you. And that's our curving of our stairs. Awesome. All right. So that's pretty much it for our primitive shapes. Again, it's important to just kind of get the basics of understanding what shapes are at your disposal and currently what tools and what options you have to manipulate these shapes so that you can build and model whatever you want to build. Awesome. All right. So I hope that was useful. I'll see you guys in the next video.